And we are live. Welcome to this brand new review for episode 4. How are you, Mandalore?
Good in yourself?
I'm doing great. And now I will sound a bit different because I think this was one of the weakest episode we had this season. But I will admit I was surprised on how dark it went for a kids show. I mean,
This was kind of a mix episode. Like it started off feeling kind of it had its ups and downs.
yeah.
Um do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Um, I guess we will spoil the entire thing. So if people didn't see it, that's your warning. I will let you start. What did you think of that episode?
Well, it started off because it felt like, oh, we have that direction set at Adam. We're going to land on it. And they landed on it. So it's like, wow, this feels very like there's too many episodes still left for this to be landing on the home to return home. Like this was just like, wow, this just felt really crappy. Then it was like, oh, but it's not home. Like now, at first it seemed like, oh, they're on the home planet, but at the same time, it's felt like it might have been the future. Um, at points I was like, oh, so this is just like how we talked off screen about the Doctor Who sort of thing, where it's like the suspended in time, so like they landed on the planet, but they're in the present, like after the war, after everything. And it's like, oh, it's not even that. It's just all the planets that they talked about that were destroyed, and it was one of the last ones, and why it's sort of this mystical place because it was the only one that survived was because the other ones were destroyed, and they're all cookie cutter planets, like cookie cutter houses, where they're all designed the same. And it definitely felt like a cheaper episode just because they used the same, and they even said, oh, we use the exact same sets, we just redressed them to make them look older and more destroyed. So it's kind of like a flashback episode, like where you get some new stuff, but it involves a lot of old. So it was that brought down the episode a bit, and it was again more down the kid show route by having kid soldiers, like where it was mostly kid soldiers until you meet the leader. Um, but once you actually get into the story and you sort of step away from it, once you realize it's this planet, it's not the same planet, it's similar, and you start developing more in the lore of these lost planets and whatnot, it starts to develop a bit more. Um, the fact that the acting, like the show definitely showed really good acting chops, especially for the one character. I kept up the IMDb page, so I have characters' names.
That's good.
Well, after we were just talking about before the show, Hana, the daughter of the leader, her acting chops almost seem too good for the show. And as we look, she's done some recent things and legit things. Her acting was a little too top notch. It seemed out of place, but it was still good. It wasn't like over dramatic. Um, Again, out of the main cast, Fern's character seemed to be the best acted because she was showing like the tough, but then she went to vulnerable very well. Like, and it didn't feel like it was a forcing. It very much showed like, oh, I'm the captain. You do what I say, and then they're like, okay, captain, you're fighting with us. Now you're going to lead the way to prove that you're loyal, that you're not going to just betray us. And she's like, wait, what? And then it leads it, and then she starts freaking out, going, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Just like, and she was in tears. It's just like, it showed her that she's a very good actress, and it just showed, and there was more character development.
Yeah.
Wim, the one who I really am not a huge fan of as much, he was showing even though he loves the adventure because he seemed at first, oh yeah, we're back at home, our adventure's over, it was just getting good, and then when things get real, he's even like, he's not as much of showing, oh shit, we're out of our league here, but he was kind of like, oh, this is getting serious, but it's still cool, but holy shit, what are we doing? And he was able to go, yeah, I'm not the lead character here, you are, for, and sort of backed her up, and it showed more connection. And KB is more moved to the background after last episode. But she showed to be the voice of reason. As you like, she seems to be the like Neil seems to be the heart, which is definitely shown in this episode. And like they all have these characters that we started off with, and they're all, as predicted, going to go against that. Like Fern was a tough guy, boss, and she's showing now very vulnerable. William showed to be the crazy sort of wanting adventure and up for anything, and once things get serious, he's like scared. KB seemed to be the out of place sort of follow the lead, just do what they're told, and they're their side character who's just kind of there to work with tech, just to interact with it, just to solve a lot of issues. But she's showing to actually think and be common sense and go, wait a second, this doesn't seem right. Like in the last one where she was the first one to go, she trusted the owl over trusting over Jod. Like, and
Made sense.
she was the one who sort of said, wait, you tell us the truth or we're not doing this. And then Neil, the coward, who always seemed to be more of the comedy relief, is showing that he's more serious when he sort of went against SM33 and was like, stop. And he saw that they were going to get hurt. So he sort of took one for the team, but it was stopped just in time. And then just suddenly, you can't hurt them. And he stands up to the robot who was going to rip them limb from limb, and then passes out, of course, because first adventure and he didn't want to be fighting and whatnot. And he showed to be the heart and the vulnerability of the team. The stories aren't, this is very much of a kiddie adventure show where it's more each episode a new adventure, so there's not too much story. There's story laced into it, but it's more about just the main story getting there back and forth. That's the one reason I don't like these short shows that are only like a handful of episodes.
Yeah.
Because, and like they're all like 30, 40 minutes. Like they're not long, but they're not full hour ones, because you can't really, and when you try and introduce them, like the first 2 episodes were very bloody dull. Like it was hard to sit through. Like it was like, the acting's not bad. You can see where this is going, but nothing's happening. I don't know if I'll watch this because it's Star Wars, just so I can properly discuss it and just say I watched it and just know it properly. But it's nothing exciting, and it's picking up slowly, but it's definitely for kids. There definitely was some darkness when it was forcing like, oh no, kids also fight here, and it wasn't one of those where it was like all the adventures only around kids. They sort of explained it a little bit more, like to survive you have to fight. There's no one who doesn't fight. And then it showed a small group of kids who didn't really fight, who Neil fed, and they didn't get fed. Like you kind of have to, if you want to earn, you have to do. It almost seemed like a euphemism for communism. Well, no, and it's just kind of like you have to work. If you don't work, you don't get. Yeah. There's no other reason why those other kids who were sitting at the top of the base weren't eating. Like that Neil had to give them food. Now, if that's just a coincidence in me, just because people always insert their own political views, going, haha, that sucks. It must be this. But these shows always have them. It's just people, you can always read them differently. It got really interesting at the very end when they noticed that, they realized there's a reason it looks just like our planet, because it's one of the planets that we were told about by the pirates about. All the other ones were destroyed except for one. And then they see directions to every planet except their own. And that's when the kid gets a smart idea going, Fern gets a smart idea going, override memory, blah, 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 blah. And then SM33 just goes, oh, I know who did that. That was me. And then it's just like, why would you do it? Why would I do what? Why would you destroy that? Destroy what? It's like, no, remember. And then she did the memory override, and then it's just like rip from limb to limb. And then it's just like, oh, there's a reason. almost like the captain, like there's more to the story, like the captain might be living on at Aden, and is hiding, or one of the kids belongs to
The
like
captain, yeah.
someone in the show is going to be related or have a connection to that pirate, or he knows about something there and he wants to protect it. It wasn't a pirate thing, it was a protection thing.
We haven't heard about the mother of the main character, like the first kid we got introduced
The
to.
whim.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's just
maybe
the
the
father,
mother is
and the
related.
father, when he was looking at the kids left, Wim was kind of like his father, like all the other mothers were just freaking out, going, "We have to find the kids. What do you mean you can't do anything out of the barrier? Blah blah blah." And his father was just kind of. Now I originally took it as he was so busy with work he never paid attention, gave his son the attention he needed. So does that mean that he's just having regrets about if his son is lost, he never gave enough attention to his son? Was it like regret? Or does he know something about this? The only error issue I see with that theory is that ship looked like it was there for a long time.
He's
So
still
I
like
don't,
10 years old, so in 10 years, that's enough for.
the ship can be aged 10 years or technically even just more, depending on who that was. Or the father was a pirate or something and he's freaking out.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, like, because the show has been sort of all over the place, although apparently views are not doing great. So I hope it doesn't get canceled. I'd like to, or at least if it does, that they've ended this where it's okay, the show has ended. It could carry off in more direction, but they don't leave it with expecting it to be another season. Because there are shows that know they might not get continued, so they end on a happy thing or a pleasant ending, a final solution, but with more to can be discussed if they continue the show. Whereas they were a bit cocky with the Acolyte and they continued it on a cliffhanger, like clearly more is coming, and then it was just like, but we did it so poorly, no one cares.
Do you want to add more?
Well, yeah. So it's hard to know where the show's going. Like, as I predicted from the first, you're definitely going to see these characters clearly change character, and it's always with kid adventures or just adventure with a group of people who they all have their set role, like the tough guy, that they always end up showing their opposite personalities. Because I said you could sort of see Fern cracking already in the first episode, like she seemed concerned, even though she was acting all tough. But you're seeing it more than just their first couple episode roles. It felt kind of cheap with the reused sets and whatnot, so I think the couple episodes are them going to be going to the other planets and try and figure out if any of them have the coordinates left, or if they were all taken out, or see if they can figure out a pattern between all of them to maybe figure out where their planet is. It's yet to see. Jod sort of showed that he's more caring, like he's out for himself clearly because he still wants to go there and get his reward for bringing the kids back, but he seemed to actually show some compassion for the kids.
That's what makes him interesting, I think.
And I said whether the caring act is fake and in the end he's just going to be a pirate asshole, or if he's going to sacrifice himself or sacrifice his pirate tendencies for the kids and become a staple. Again, it's kind of where the show has to go unless they completely do something. But all these the last couple shows have, especially in the last few years, not even just Star Wars, all fit the same sort of path. They just change the sort of little things just to make them different. Like this one's a Star Wars one compared to a general sort of kid lost in space thing. So it's hard yet to see, but it's good. And it's still, for me, as someone who likes a little bit more darker and more adventure and more lore, This is definitely still keeping me interested. I'm not just forcing myself to watch. It's still not a great perfect show because it definitely has all those kid aspects and whatnot, and a little too happy lucky. Like it still ends up with the kids are going to fight, and then it's just like, oh, I traded that, like, oh, I bought off the bad guys, and now blah 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 blah. It felt a little too easy, like not just. I guess that's a slight twist and change from them meeting up with the other group, going, well, no, these guys are doing this because you said so, and it's like, and then someone coming to go get someone getting them together, going, guys, you're doing this to each other, you're hurting each other, you guys are failing, and neither of you are going to be left. Let's work this out together and become one team. Which wasn't what they did. They left them still off as villains. They just bought them off at one point. So whether that's a cheaper route or they're trying to do something different, it's yet to be seen. But it was kind of like a 50-50, like 50% good, 50% kind of lazy, like reusing the whole sets and just redressing. It felt a little lazy at that part.
That's interesting. Um, I I didn't know about them repurposing it, so I guess I got lucky on that aspect. Otherwise, I would have seen it if I knew, you know. Do you want to add something else?
Not that I can think of at the moment, but you'll probably say something that will make me go, "Oh, right," and so. But until, as of the moment, no.
Perfect. Well, I guess I will take my turn now. So again, I said it as a premise. I think it's one of the weakest episode we got so far, and um I'm worried about the rest of the show after watching it. It's not a terrible episode. I still liked it a lot, and I think it was very strong. But now my worry is more like, do we need 8 episodes of that? Because like the true goal is going back to the planet, right? So will they keep going into new planets every week, and you can just remove some of the episode that season, and you won't really change the character arc or the story stuff?
Well, we're
I
on
don't know.
episode 4, and I've got a feeling they're going to do the other planets. There's at least one or two just to try and do like we fill in these spots, how they're connected, and then go find the missing spot. But that 4 episodes, and this has been the only episode to do it. So there's 4 planets, or how many planets were there?
I can't remember,
It was like
unfortunately.
4 or 5 planets that were in total of the at so and so.
So one of the episodes they'll just go do like 2 or 3 planets.
Well, that because we're halfway done the show. If they were doing that the whole way, that would have been like they would have sort of combined the second and third episode to include those, and would have started on episode 3 doing this. I don't know if they're going to do the every planet full episodes. I think they might do a one more, or they might do one planet where they do 1 or 2 planets and they go, well, nothing was very interesting on that one. It was taken care of, and they go like, I think the last episode one of the second last episode would be, well, we went to this planet and now we got to figure out, we know where all they are. We can't, none of them have the ad, and how do we figure out the missing one?
Yeah.
So if they're, depending on how they approach returning home, or if they approach turning home, it could be really bad, as you're predicting. But I have a feeling that they're good, because the whole pirate crew, like his original pirate crew's got to come back into this at some point. Like they got to be tracking them, and that's where my original theory is: does Jod nod, and do the kids give up their returning home just to sort of protect the planet from pirates discovering it?
Yeah.
Sorry I know I keep cutting it on your toes, but like I said, you bring stuff
That's
up and then I
fine.
think about it.
That's fine, dude. That's the point of it. Like, otherwise, I would do the show alone. I don't want to do it alone. So
Well,
that's amazing that you're adding stuff.
and here, one quick question to what you said. Do you really think this episode was the worst episode compared to episode 1, where literally it was just space suburbia.
Actually, it was slightly better than episode 1.
I would say space episode 1 would have been the worst episode so far, just because of space suburbia. Nothing happens till like the very end.
I'm with you on that. I don't fully agree about that take, but I'd agree to say that the first episode was my least favorite so far, and this one is a bit above it and a bit underneath 2 and 3. But again, I enjoyed the fact that they kind of took some risk. I mean, we got kids doing war. It's like really dark for a family show, and we got kids starving.
Well, it's not even that. The fact that they showed the main kids getting pushed into a war, like, oh, we're tough kids, and just seeing Fern just freak the hell out, going, we're going to get ourselves killed doing this. Like, what the hell's going on? And she was just like freaking out, like, I'm not a captain. I've been tough this whole time, but I'm really innocent. Like, it was kind of like we knew it was coming, but it just done so very well, and it's just going. It's not completely kids, because usually kid shows would have it where they just make it's like, it's not right. The kids are having to fight wars, and they just go, and it's just all happy in the end. The episode didn't necessarily have a happy end. It was the planet's still at war. They're still and like the kids are still fighting. Like, they bought it because of Jod Nod. They bought out of having to do the fighting. It was literally just a cop out. The biggest threat now is their own droid, who, if his memory gets clicked on or they step at a wrong point,
they get chopped up.
They have to deal with him. But other than that, like, the whole, like, this didn't have a happy ending. Like, nothing on the planet was resolved. The daughter realized. Neil pointed out to the daughter of the leader, going, yeah, every generation we're weaker and less because we keep going to kill their stuff and take their stuff, and they come and do this, and nothing's been solved. So yeah. That's where it's not a kid. That's like a little less kid-like, because on always, whatever place they go that's war-torn, they figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
Even if it's by a darker route, like, this person sacrificed himself, like the daughter would have sacrificed herself, but they would have realized, we can't do this anymore. We need to find peace. But no, this was just the kids came in, got the information they wanted, they survived, and left the planet to fight for itself again, which is not a typical kids show.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess I will get into my big issue with this current episode we had this week. So I nitpick too much, but my only issue is actually the color grading / lighting, because sometimes I struggle with that. Like, that was in the rebel base. Like, when they met the leader, there was a point I couldn't see shit, and maybe it's because I'm colorblind, or it's because it was really poorly handled. But like, when it was darker, I could not see what was going on, and that really bothered me. And the sad part, yes, I am.
It's going to be hard. Have you always been colorblind, or did you lose the ability to see color later on?
I think I was born like that. But
okay. They sort of went for a grayscale, sort of worn, torn area. So and it was like in the jungle, so like in the foresty areas where most of it was. So I can understand where you're coming from, that it was hard to tell what's going on, because it wasn't actually gray. There was color to it, but they sort of put that filter on to sort of make it feel a little bit more like the home planet, but war torn and years later, just because of
it was wars. More in the base. My issue, it was really in the rebel base,
and it was dark in there.
Yeah, I could not see what was going on, and that pisses me off so much. And
that's where all the cool stuff happened. You didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm bugging you.
Maybe I nitpick too much, but Um, I feel like that was the first time I had that issue with that show so far. I think most of the color choices they did and the lighting overall was good so far. It was really in the rebel base. I was like, I cannot see shit. And the worst than that, it's not even the pirate website I'm using. I'm using the Disney Plus website itself. So I don't know. Maybe I'm
And we
crazy.
here do not promote the use of third-party websites to watch Star Wars or other videos. We only recommend using full sites that are where you have to go to get it.
Sure. But yeah, that was my only big issue. Um, here are the few things I thought about that episode. It was cool. All the kid realized that's not their planet. The humor about babysitting the adult was actually very funny. I enjoyed that. The kids exploring the world was entertaining. The rebel base, even if I could not see shit, I kind of liked what they were saying, and it was entertaining. But I wish I could see inside that goddamn base. Um, the next thing, I thought the lore was kind of cool, and again, the humor in that TV show I think is on point. And yeah, um, you mentioned it. The guy kind of caring for the kids, that surprised me, and I I liked it. I was
Well,
okay. That guy is a liar. That guy clearly has his own agenda, but despite that, he doesn't really want these kids to simply
well,
get squeak.
I don't see it that way as much. I see it more as he's father to the one girl, clearly. Um, I think it's more use all with how the war's gone and how they've lost sort of every generation they sort of lose stuff that they realize they have to use the kids, that it was a necessity. So he's kind of, I don't think he's got like unless they return to there and they discover that he's been sort of screwing with things and this was all for private gain, like as they sometimes do. It seemed like the kids have to be treated like adults because they need to fight like adults. But I think he also keeps a distance from them because he knows they're kids. They're not as well. And I think it's more of he knows what they have to do, but he doesn't want to think about it too much. So he treats them like shoulders. And if something happens, something happens. But it's hard. Plus, it's not even that he's doing bad stuff and doesn't care. I think it's also one of those where war does stuff to your mind, and he's kind of got that winning this war no matter what.
Yeah,
And that it just, you fight or die. And I think it's more that way. And he's got that sort of war craze going on. Not where, like, he'd be happy to have it end, but he doesn't know how. He's been doing this for however long he's been leading them. And his daughter's seeing it, and his daughter sort of said, oh, we need more caring, more people like you and stuff. And that is just different approaches. So I don't know if there's any evilness to this, like to the father. I think this show is very kind of straightforward in my eyes. Like, I think with the amount of subtext and all that stuff they've been inserting in the last few shows, like Mandalorian, like even Mandalorian, even Ahsoka, which I love those shows. They have subtext, they have sub meanings, like even when Mando's attacking the old battle droids, when he doesn't like droids, especially battle droids, and you know clearly why he doesn't like droids. They've explained that in the first season, and you know why specifically battle droids. But it shows, like, there's, whether you want to say race relations or whatnot. But this show seems to have some very minute bits of that. Like, it's more about boy girl sort of stuff. Like, if anything, like, usually, like, the one who seems like the big tough guy would be Wim, the main boy. And then he'd show that he's not as brave or adventurous. He's kind of very scared going through, so he doesn't know what he's doing. But if the role, like Neil and Wim, if this was 80s, 90s, they'd be played by female characters, whereas the Fern and KB would be, I almost see it as like Saved by the Bell, where Fern is more vulnerable Zach, and KB would be Screech. Just that kind of geeky guy who can do what needs to be done, to like that doesn't really work in reality, but kind of a plot device.
Yeah.
And then Wim, the sort of adventurous, would be kind of like one of the three girls, and Neil would be one of the other three girls. Were like they're just more caring and more sort of, I can do this, I can keep up. People keep saying I'm down, and then realizing, you know what, maybe I'm happy with how my life is, sort of thing. Like it's got a very sort of like 80s, 90s feels, just kind of slightly reversed. Like when you just looking at the characters' descriptions, because the sci-fi and stuff is very Star Wars, very modern. But when you look at the character sort of basics, it feels like it was an 80s, 90s character sort of kids show where they end up sort of revealing that they're more open. But no, it's because it's modern. It's the tough one has to be the girl, and the brainy one has to be the girl, and the sensitive one and the heart has to be the boy, and the troublemaker who gets them in trouble for curiosity is the boy. Like it's reversed, and it's not kind of in your face like a lot. Like there's people who will complain anything Disney is woke, and a lot of it is. And The Acolyte was pure wokeness in Disney, like cramming as much into one show as possible, and it was why it was so bad. I don't see that as much in this show. I really see it as a very toned down, very minimal. And yeah, it just, I don't even remember how I got onto this. Well, what led to this conversation about the character roles.
Me neither, to be honest. I was just caught on what you said. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, it's not as much of a kid show. Like it, there's definitely,
we were on To the Father and all, and then you started talking about the characters. Yeah,
but it's hard to say. Like the show has definitely got its feel to it, and I don't know if it's going to be. It's hard to really judge a show episode per episode until the very end.
yeah.
That's one reason with Andor season 1, I never watched it till the very end, because for me that doesn't seem like a show that would keep my attention from episode to episode. Where I was like, oh, I got to see the next one, and I just waited till the whole show was done, avoided as much spoilers as possible. Like there were some key points, mostly with sets and whatnot and looks, but I watched it in one sitting, and it was a better show than I expected by watching it. I think for Andor season 2, I might do the same thing. I don't know, but we'll see if people want to do a season 2, Andor season 2 discussion review, then I leave it in your hands if you want to do that, or if other people, then I might force myself to watch episode by episode.
Yeah. Well, it depends on when it comes out, because like I said okay to Skeleton Crew because I didn't add that much going on, so that's why. But it depends when it comes out, because if it's the only thing that's out that's kind of mainstream, I think I will cover it. But I'm not that much up to speed. That's the thing.
Yeah, like I'm kind of hoping that we just wait and watch and do a whole show review.
Yeah. It depends.
Just do one long review of the whole show.
Sometimes I do that when I don't have the time. That's what I did with the Penguin and Agatha, and I think that's what I will be doing with Creatures Commandos.
And what we can do is we can. Well, we'll talk about this off air.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
It depends on what's going on and if I have stuff going on at the same time.
Well, if there's people who have a preference, feel free to comment and let us know what you rather us do. Do you
Yeah.
need it to be an episode by episode, or would you be fine with a all at once?
I think episode by episode it's better for viewership because they have something to look forward for the following week, and
Oh
it's
no, yeah, but if it's
when it's
something that
still
they're not
out.
going to really,
Yeah,
but if they're not going to really want to watch episode by
yeah,
episode, they sometimes just want to
yeah,
go, well, here's a breakdown of the whole show together. Here's some points about episode 1. Here's some points about episode 2, and just sort of. But we can talk about that and see if people actually respond and what they'd prefer.
yeah, yeah. That sounds something. Do you want to add something before we kind of move on to the closing part? Because I don't have a lot more to say, to
No,
be
because I don't
honest.
remember what we were talking about. Like there was something in between that led to the talking about the character roles, but yeah, there's not much. Like I'm still surprised that Nick Frost voiced SM33, but it makes sense listening to it now. His best friend, who does a lot of movies with Simon Pegg, has done Star Wars
Yeah.
and Star Trek and Doctor Who. So
Wow, that's a lot.
yeah.
All sci-fi related. That's a good thing.
Simon Pegg is one of those nerds who does who, if he wants to appear in something, but I think his appearance in Star Wars was as a stormtrooper. It was one of those in the sequel trilogy. Like there are how many big actors who were just dressed up as a stormtrooper you barely knew, you wouldn't know that they were there unless you were told. But yeah, this episode I found to be, it started off very kind of like almost insulting, thinking they're already back to their home planet. How are they going to finish off this show? Like this is the half point. But they sort of changed it, but it still felt a little half arse just because of just reusing sets and just redecorating them and changing the light to make it look more funky, more run down, more aged, just to the wars. But it definitely adds something more to the lore with these planets, what happened to these planets compared to at Aden. And that each one has a map to the other planets, or it has the coordinates of the other planets. So what does that mean? What's going on in the tower on Aden? Is it hidden there? Are the other planets hidden there? And we just wait to see how this goes, episode by episode.
Yeah.
I
guess.
I was just gonna say I don't think any episodes are delayed due to holidays.
I don't think so. I think the show really finishes like January 13th, something like that.
I think it's literally a week by week because I know,
Yeah.
like even Mandalore, like other shows have landed on the Christmas and whatnot, so they got delayed. December 10th, 17th, 24th, 31st, 7th, 14th. So yeah, that's 777.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's always fun when they get delayed by holidays or something.
Yeah. And most of the time it's just a viewership aspect. It's not necessarily like consumer friendly. Because they know people are out, so they don't want to lose money on the viewership. That's why they usually take break.
Well, yeah, and it's also exactly. It's not watching live. You have to watch it at a certain time and record it if you want. Although almost everyone has a TVR where you can record shows on the cable box, but the place where they make money isn't by people watching because there's not really ads. They get money by people signing up to watch the show. Like they see as the show go on, are there more people signing up, and what those accounts are watching is where they sort of calculate the money, plus also the viewership, because people renew their membership because this goes from December 2nd to January 14th. So you're going to have to at least renew your membership so they see people renew to keep watching it.
Yeah. So what would be your grade out of 10 for episode number 4?
Like, I almost want to go half point for it, like 50%, just because it's just the first part was kind of laggish, and the ending, it ended on a good point. Like, it twisted from the normal thing, the droid going rip them limb from limb and going crazy. Like there was many things. I'll give it. We're doing this out of 10.
Yeah.
I'll do it at a 6, just because it was held back. And again, once we do all the episodes will get new scale once we know the whole story. And we'll talk about that afterwards off air. But yeah, for right now, I give it a 6, just because it was kind of like one of those just general kid shows, like where they go to another planet and they have to realize, oh, this is our planet. Oh, wait, it's not our planet. Oh, wait, there's something going on. We have to help. But they didn't actually help. They just kind of got information they needed and left, which was a nice little change. And the whole sort of luring part with the planets was a cool touch. It definitely elevated it. But seeing how it works with the next episode or what it leads into, can change the score.
Yeah. Understandable. In my end, it's a solid 9.7 out of 10. Dude, I like this show. I think it's a very good show.
I love
my
I like the show too.
My nitpicks is like, I ate the lighting. That's my level of nitpicks. That's to give you an idea, like I like that. I hated the Acolyte, and now I enjoy this thing.
Well, as I said, the Acolyte was like negative something out of 10, or me just laughing when you said, what's the score? And I just started laughing. You were like, okay, that's your answer. But no, this show actually, as I said, it's nothing too attention grabby, but it's definitely something good. And as the episodes are going on, there's definitely something to watch. And this show definitely seems like it has some replayability. Like, I'm not sure if we're going to just do the final review on a whole series review on the final episode, because
it depends on a lot of things, to be honest.
If I'm sick or whatnot, and what day, your schedule.
And because of what's going on in real life as well. Yeah. Because we don't know how we will proceed for episode 5. We talked about it backstage.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
And the same for episode 6. So we will cover the entire thing, but what format and how, it's the question mark.
We'll keep people up to date.
Yeah.
Because I'm almost wanting to rewatch the whole show.
Whether I do
that on the January 14th, watch every episode like I did for the stream for the Acolyte, where I watched every episode and finished shortly before the episode, the final episode, and then watched it, so I had to hold that. Or once I watch the episode 8, I then go and rewatch 1 to 8.
I think how it will line up is we will separate episode 8 to the entire season talk. I think this how things will line up, so you will have some time to
you know what, probably best, because there's nothing coming up right away. I don't think there's any new Star Wars projects coming out. I was going to say Andor season 2 is June next year. And Mando movie is 2026.
It's far.
Ahsoka, they haven't released a date for it yet, which I'm really excited for. Ahsoka is one of those episodes. If it's at 2 a.m, I'm staying up to watch that, because it's Ahsoka. I really enjoyed it.
Same.
But I think we should do a season 8, and then the next week come back.
I think we will do it within the same week, to be honest, because I will have a very crowded January. Like, January, things are starting up again. Like, right now it's December. I take it quiet and slow. I'm just watching movies. I have free times.
And there might be an election for both of us coming up soon, so hopefully.
So we will talk about that a bit later. It's still like 4 weeks from now, so we have enough time to marinate it.
But as you get older, 4 weeks seems like nothing. It's gonna be like, oh crap, the show's already over. We just said it was 4 weeks left, and now it's the final night. So
you guys
are getting older.
What do you have going on your end of the internet?
On my end of the internet, other than collecting as normal and complaining online about real world stuff as usual, not much. We have the stream on Monday.
Yeah, Lily Phillips is back.
Um, and then other than that, I've got nothing at the moment. It's mostly just complaining online to not nice people about how stupid they are.
People are stupid, and they need to be reminded that.
Yes, and rudely.
Yeah, I agree. Coming next on my end of the internet, like an hour from now, a full review of, I believe, I can't remember if it's Lion King first or Sonic 3 first, but I will talk about all three Sonic and the shitty Knuckles show we had last summer. That was like Acolyte bad. Maybe actually, I would need to look at my notes to know which one of the two is the worst, but they are both kind of bad on the same level.
Well, if you want to bring up Acolyte in your stream, just message me and I'll jump right on to complain.
Hell yeah. Outside of that, there's the Lion King stream after because I did happen to see Mufasa. Don't watch that thing. It's one of the worst movie that came out this year.
Okay, don't watch any new Disney stuff that's new versions of old things.
Mufasa is actually a prequel, bro. But you know what?
It's a new take on that, and it's just like
no, it's a prequel. It's before the original Lion King.
But that's still technically a new take on it by doing what they haven't done before.
Yeah, but you know what's the biggest sin with that shit? And I will leave it at that. Is they want to launch a new generation with guess what? The main character. Guess what? I will let you guess next generation. What will be the next main character?
Wait, who will be the actor, or who will be?
Who will be the main character in the next Lion King after Mufasa?
It's hard to say.
You know Disney and their politics, do you?
Nala?
Almost there. You're very close. That's actually Simba's daughter. That's what they want to do.
Didn't they already do Simba's son?
No, Mufasa is the father. Simba is the original. Well,
so they're starting it in a new direction. They're rebooting it, but instead of doing Simba, they're doing his sister.
The daughter of Simba. That's what they want to do.
Just leave.
And guess what? Nala, Simba's mother was in Mufasa, and she was a cool character, but she wasn't needed at all, and she was just there because Disney. Anyway, that's enough for that tangent. We will talk, or I should say, I will talk about it because I think I will be alone since I'm the only one that has seen it. Anyway, bruh, what's going on, Disney? I've also seen the Snow White trailer. That's godly terrible. I really hope Snow Woke will crash and burn. Anyway, I'm out. We are out, and we don't know about episode 5. We will be covering it eventually, but we don't know when. That's the question mark. See you next time.